watching anime movies with my best otaku friend.
Hello, and welcome to Watching Anime Movies with My Best Otaku Friend.
Or, as I like to call it, Wamboff.
I'm Abby.
I'm Alex.
And this week we watched
Blue
Giant.
We really need to, count that in, I think.
Oh, I thought that was fine.
Oh, okay, that were probably fine.
Doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I really like this movie. I was not expecting to. I'm not a huge, music anime fan. Blue Spring Ride, you remember that?
Hello, I can't believe I already messed up on our first podcast ever, but when I say Blue Spring Ride, I really mean Your Line April, which is actually a music anime. My bad.
No, I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, well, you can if you want to, but I did. It's a music anime.
Yeah.
And apparently it's really sad, but I don't even know because I got so bored I didn't finish it.
Oh no!
I know. I have watched Given really recently, but you don't watch Given for music reasons.
You watch way more anime than I do.
I know. But Given's a boys love anime. You might like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cute. I thought it was really wholesome. I did watch the movies, and I didn't know this, but there's the movies get...
Oh, they get spicy?
Yeah, well, not even in a good way either. It's very rough representations of gay men. Anyway.
Oh, well, I mean...
But anyway, this is my first music anime that I've seen and finished, and I was really, really impressed by, if that makes sense. Even though it is a movie. I don't know if that was clear.
I also really enjoyed it. I really got sucked into the movie, which is... we did get lucky enough. We were able to go catch it in theaters.
Oh, yeah.
And not just in theaters, but at a Cinemark with the very fancy motorized reclining seats. So I, got to kick my little feet up. I had popcorn. I had a little Powerade. I made in the Coca-Cola Freestyle machine. Coca-Cola Freestyle. I need you to put blue Powerade flavor into your machine.
Oh yeah, that was messed up.
I was upset because blue Powerade is obviously the best flavor, and I did raspberry, which was still pretty good. But I was like, this isn't neon blue. What's happening? How do I know it's hydrating me?
Where's the electric lights?
Yep.
I was really impressed by people actually showing up to this movie.
Yeah, no, the theater was full.
Yeah.
Maybe not packed, but certainly more than 75%, maybe 85.
Yeah, it was kind of awesome. I'm really impressed.
Yeah, I always forget we live in a real big weeb area.
Yeah, it's nice.
It is pretty nice. It's great for us.
And just so you know, in this show, we do go over every scene in the movie. We pretty much go over it scene by scene. So if you want to see it and you haven't yet, I highly recommend it. But, if you hadn't, it's just as fun visually to watch after everything's spoiled, I think.
Yeah, there is a big twist.
There's a big twist.
I'm potentially just including the fact that there is a twist might have already spoiled the existence of said twist, because I had no idea.
I had no idea.
I had no clue.
It was the best. That's the first time in a long time that a twist has hit me that hard.
Yeah, I mean, it really came out of nowhere, if you know what I mean.
Wink, wink, wink.
But yeah, so, yep, just like I said, this is a, completely spoiled review. It's full spoilers, no stone left unturned. Ye have been warned.
All right, are we ready to get cracking?
Yeah, let's get cracking.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Ooh, it's gonna sound so good and crispy layered over each other.
I know. All right, so the movie opens on our main character, Dai, who is, I believe, an 18-year-old Japanese student, obviously, playing the saxophone by the river in the snow.
Not just in the snow. This man is, standing out there in a blizzard. He's practicing so hard. The first thing that they hit you with... Okay, first of all, just for this whole movie, the sound design is impeccable. You would hope so, because it is, a musical movie. But
yeah, I never noticed this stuff, and it was amazing.
Yeah, they did a great job. So, it opens, and all you get is just, Antarctica, full winter storm. And you see this... this boy, I'm sorry, he's only 18, he's baby boy.
He's baby boy.
You see this baby boy standing out there in the freezing snow, his lips are bleeding, he gets, blood on the reed of the saxophone, and I'm like, sir, so, yeah, I'm like, he's so dedicated, what a strong boy. But also, get inside, boy, you look cold.
Yeah, oh, and then something I noticed immediately, I had to Google it, he has the same nose as, this other sports anime that my boyfriend used to watch in college called Ippo Makinochi or Nachi.
Let me see.
It's this boxing anime.
Yeah.
Can you see it?
It just says Fighting Spirit Champion.
Oh, maybe that's the English version.
Yeah.
Hajime no Ippo?
Oh, Hajime no Ippo, yeah.
Oh, maybe I read this wrong.
There you go. Hajime no Ippo.
Yeah. And I thought that was really interesting. I wouldn't be surprised. I didn't do a lot of research on the author.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised if the author was a sports manga fan or a writer or something.
Yeah, I mean, because there could definitely be parallels. I really appreciated just the overall, like, style of the anime in terms of, like, depicting lots of people who look different. And it's obviously still stylized because it is anime, you know? It's not like they're photorealistic or anything. But there's a lot more, like, detail and a lot more unique features.
And
among,
it wasn't
like, the
just
whole
because,
cast.
like, there was an older man, you know? The people who were the same age.
Yeah, they looked very different. They had, like, very different shape language without
Yeah.
it necessarily, like, getting too cartoony. But it also wasn't, you know, just like anime same face syndrome where it's just
Yeah.
like guy face and girl face. So it was good and nice and good to look at. And
Yeah.
it helps because I am possibly, like, a little face blind. Sometimes I have a real hard time.
Yeah,
So
me too.
we, like, joked about it before we went in, like, oh no, this is like a realistic anime, so, you know, there's not going to be, like, the blue-haired one, the silver-haired one, you know?
Yeah.
But-
like, though they play instruments. So the whole time
That's
going
true.
back from the theater, I
They're
was like,
that's the drummer.
yeah. I was like, the drummer.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he's playing by the river in the snow, and a cat walks past him, right?
Mm-hmm.
He calls out to it. I forget exactly what he says, but the cat just kind of keeps walking and completely ignores him.
Mm-hmm.
I Googled to see if, like, there was, like, special symbolism in that, and I couldn't find anything. I mean, obviously, like, in Japan, cats are, like, you know, lucky, and they symbolize hospitality and prosperity. How is that related? I don't know. Maybe the fact that he's ignoring him in a blizzard is, like, representing how things are not hospitable right now? I have no clue. Cats show up a lot in this movie, though.
Yeah, I will say, even if it is simply because of, like, oh, look at this boy, he likes cats, so you know he's a good boy.
Yeah.
I'm fine if that's, like, you know, as deep as it gets, because every time in an anime, they're like, here's a good boy, you can tell he's petting a cat, I'm like, immediately.
You're so right. That happens a lot in shoujo.
It's so great, I love it, it's a good trope, I enjoy it. I'm a big softie, I'm a big animal lover, so if I see someone else who also is an animal lover, I'm like, oh, okay, you know, you're sweet, alright.
You're sweet. Anyway, the cat ignores him, and Dai keeps playing. Next morning, his siblings, we're not really clear on who it is, but it's like an older boy and a little girl, and they're saying goodbye to him at a train station.
So this was in Japanese and then subtitled in English, and I did catch at that point the little girl is like,
No, Oni-san.
yeah.
Yeah.
She calls someone in the scene Oni-san. My Japanese is not very good. I'm working on it, taking Duolingo. Either the guy she's with is her brother, or they're all siblings, you know?
Yeah.
But-
That's another thing. So I'm pretty sure the manga starts with him, like, in his basketball club. So originally he was a basketball player in high school when he was 15. And then it was funny, it was in the synopsis on the G-Kids website. It was not in this movie. But apparently a friend took him, Dai, to a jazz concert, and he fell in love with jazz and started learning jazz saxophone.
Mm-hmm.
The movie starts with him already knowing how to play jazz saxophone. He's really good. And they just keep moving from there. Like, not a lot of backstory for him. So they say goodbye to him. The older boy gives him money. His little sister, assumably, gives him rice balls. And as he's walking off, the bigger brother is kind of comforting the little sister by saying, like, you know, he'll probably be back next week, you know? And she's like, no, he's gone for good. It was really dramatic and really cute. The little girl was probably like 2 or 3, so.
Oh, I thought she was like 6. I don't know.
Maybe.
Young.
Yeah.
She's a young child.
Young child.
Yeah.
We get some shots. We cut to him. He's made it to Tokyo. And we get some shots of him wandering around Tokyo. And they kind of serve as the opening credits of, like, you know, like, the director and stuff. This is the point in the movie that I was like, are there no smartphones? You know?
Yeah.
Because then
Yeah, it really looks like he wanders forever.
Yeah.
I mean, so he wanders, you know, he's, like, in place to place, you know, he's in a lot of public spaces. Which
he never pulls out a phone.
Yeah, he never pulls out a phone.
The whole movie.
But, like, you know, he's on a train, you know, he's at a train station, he's in a park, he's, you know, like, on the street next to, like, some food stalls. But I think part of the reason why we don't see him pull out a phone is because ultimately he's trying to get somewhere that he can play saxophone really loudly and not, like, bother anyone.
Oh, maybe that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, he makes a little comment in one of the parks when, like, like a young family walks by and he's like, oh, this isn't it, something to that effect.
Oh,
And then,
he does? I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, he just like a real quick like offhand comment like, oops, that's not it. He like falls asleep at one point.
Oh, yeah.
Just like in the park, and I'm like, baby boy.
And earlier he was like making a comment on a homeless man, like, you're asleep, like something.
Oh my
like
god,
that.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, like he was just surprised because
Yeah.
he's from the country or whatever.
Yeah, but yeah, he winds up like next to a big bridge that goes over the river. And so there's just like constant cars. And so he's like, all right, I can be loud here and it's probably fine. Because when this boy plays saxophone, he plays.
There's even a point later in the film where he starts to run for exercise. So his lungs get bigger capacity so he can play louder or stronger, as he says.
Yeah, I think it says that he runs like for 4 hours a day, which is ridiculous. I would die.
No, it was 4 hours. Which, if you don't know, that's like the average male time for a marathon.
Oh god.
Hopefully he's not running the whole time, but whatever. Yeah. Okay, so Dai shows up at his friend Tamada, who is a friend who's going to his college in Tokyo. And he shows up at his house unannounced. And Tamada's like, why didn't you call? And Dai was like, if I had called you, you would have said no.
Which is very funny. Like, please don't make me sleep on the street. I'm literally standing right here and I have no other options.
Yeah.
And Tamada's just like, what's wrong with you?
Did he even have like a backpack? I don't.
He had like a big old like camping traveling backpack.
Oh, right.
And a saxophone case, and that was kind of it.
Okay. And this movie is really funny, by the way.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, there were so many good lines.
Yeah, it was like people were cracking up. Anyway.
Yeah.
So it kind of smash cuts to 2 weeks later, where Dai is making Tamada. How do you say it? Omurice?
Yeah.
Omurice with a heart on it. And Tamada's just staring at it while Dai's like, "Itadakimasu," or whatever.
Yeah.
And
he's like, "Oh, I'm finally getting the hang of this stove. This is great." You know?
Yeah, that's right.
And Tamada's just like, "Are we married?
Yeah.
If we're not married, are we a couple? What is going on? You've been here 2 weeks. What are you doing? Leave my house."
Like, I thought he was trying to kick him out, but I think what was happening is that Dai hadn't done shit. Like, he hadn't even gotten a job yet.
Yeah, all he had done was like practice all day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, Tamada jokes or not jokes. He's like, I came to college in Tokyo to get girls.
Yeah, and then he's like, I'm spending all my time with this dude from back home.
Yeah, who's a loser.
Yeah.
So it's good. It kind of gives Dai a little kick in the pants to go out and at least, well,
he does look for apartments for
he
a
looks
little
for
bit.
apartments, and he is not satisfied with the prices.
It was like 800 yen for the cheapest one.
Not 800 yen. Like 80,000.
Oh, right. It was like in my brain I was like, oh, that's like $800.
I know. I always like try and convert it, and I know the math isn't perfectly one to one.
Well, yeah, I believe Japan's going through like a big enough recession where before like you could just like take 2 zeros off. I don't think you can do that anymore. Anyway, Dai gets a job as a construction worker, and you know, this is the part of the movie where like we hadn't seen him play or like interact with any other jazz people, and I was like, how is this going to transition to a jazz movie? I wasn't sure yet.
Oh yeah, because it was still very much like coming of age. Boy, moved to a new city.
Exactly. I had $15 in my pocket type of thing.
Yeah. I came to New York with nothing but, a stick of gum and a nickel.
Yeah, I know.
And the clothes on my back and the shoes on my feet.
God.
And now I'm Mr. Business. This is a silly bit. I can stop.
I like the idea of Dai being like having that accent. Hi, I'm Dai, and
I'm Dai Nimoto, and I'm going to be the best jazz player in the world.
Yeah. I'm going to be on the radio.
You can even pick up some of my records later, because that's the preferred choice of owning music. We don't have CDs yet, or even tapes.
What's a tape? Anyway. Okay, he becomes a construction worker.
Yeah, and it looks like it's like temp work, because the dude at the end is like, oh, you should come work with us again. And I'm like,
I believe later he says he works part-time.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's at that same construction job.
That's true. I mean, at least like here in the States, from what I understand, is if you go to like a temp agency, they'll like pair you up with somewhere that needs temp work, and then you'll work there. Like, I don't know if it's like contract based or what, but they'll send you to the same place over and over again.
You know what? Yeah, I
So
haven't even thought about that.
But I also don't know how temp work works in Japan. I have no clue.
Yeah, I have no clue either. He gets paid. He sets aside 1,000 yen for Tamada, which is pretty cute.
I thought it was 10,000.
It might have been. I think it was 10,000 because I was like, that's $100.
Or was it? I thought it was 10,000 yen bills, so it would have been 20,000.
That's better than what I put down. Got a $10 bill, basically.
Well, So he sets that money aside for Tamada and like leaves it on the table for him, and Tamada is like, I guess he can stay. So it was enough to contribute to someone else's rent and, you know, make you not want to kick them out. I think if it was $10, Tamada would have been like, get out of here!
Yeah. And then later that night, Dai goes to a small jazz bar. I can't remember what it was called. I'm pretty sure it was Jazz at 2. Do you remember?
So this is like the first jazz bar that he goes to, and it becomes a frequent hangout spot. I think it's Take Two Jazz Club.
Jazz Take Two, maybe.
I think it's Take Two. Take Two for real, like, is for sure included in there.
Okay, we're gonna call it Take Two at Jazz, but it might not be called that. Just so everybody. And it's disappointed because he thought live jazz bands would play there.
Yeah.
And it's really funny. I love this lady. She walks in and like immediately demands that he buys a drink, basically.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, it is dead in there. I don't know exactly, like, what time of day it is.
Yeah, you never see any other customers, do you?
But yeah, like, no, you literally never see any other customers at this place. So he walks in and she's like, what do you want to drink? And he's like, tea, I guess.
Yeah. What is it? Ulang ocha?
Yeah.
Anyway, he's like, where's the bands? And she's like, oh, we hadn't had a jazz band play here in 20 years, or whatever she says. Yeah. And he's like, he's mad, clearly angry that she made him buy a drink.
He's kind of, I don't know, he just kind of seemed bummed. Like, I don't know, in my head, I'm like, Dai's a polite boy. He's not upset at having to spend money. But yeah, and then she's like, if you just want to listen to jazz, like, you know, is recorded, I'm like, okay. And he's like, oh yeah, totally. She has like a couple albums, you know, like very nicely, like hung up on the wall, like as like art pieces almost. And so like in my head, I'm like, oh, she's gonna like, you know, pull down one of those. No, she goes and she opens the big cabinet.
It was awesome. There's like a moment where he's like, oh. And like, she believes in jazz.
She really loves jazz.
Yeah.
You can tell because she has a million jazz albums.
And I believe the record they put on was a Sonny Rollins song.
Mm.
And he is like, I know who this is. And also, I'm really glad you picked it because it matches the rainy weather.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, he loves jazz just like I do. He even noticed that I matched the weather.
It is also a little funny at that point because she does ask him if it's raining or not outside.
Oh, yeah.
She was like, oh my god, he remembered my question from earlier. Yeah. But no, I'm just being a little goober.
Yeah, I really like this lady.
She's great.
Well, probably because, like, there's not any other women in this anime besides, like, a throwaway, like, girl, I don't know.
Girl from childhood and, like, mom.
And a mom, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is okay. This is a very male-centric film.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, a woman I attach to myself.
You're like, I like her. She's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, she recommends another jazz place that does have a live band playing that night. And he's like, oh, thanks. And then leaves, right?
Yeah.
I think
immediately dips.
And I think it cuts to a picture of her singing in a jazz band.
Yeah. There's a picture of her in, like, that same little bar singing. And, I mean, there's, you know, obviously the rest of the jazz band. And so she's, you know, kind of wistful for old times. But yeah, so he's like running through the rain.
Right, yeah.
Bus into this other place. And then we get the third member of the band to be introduced. Well, he's the second in terms of like who gets into the band, but he's the third to be introduced.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. Spoilers.
Sorry.
Yeah, and it's like a band of older gentlemen, and then this guy who is kind of hinted to be a little bit older than him.
Yeah, I
mean,
like,
piano.
He read to me as like a 20-something-year-old.
Me too, yeah.
I don't know if it's just because he has the same haircut as everyone our age.
For real, yeah.
Because he has an undercut and it's like tied back into like a little man bun, and I don't know, it kind of did it for me. I was like, oh, who's this guy, you know?
Yeah, my boyfriend plays piano, and at one point he had his hair long enough to put it in a ponytail like that, and I was like, oh, this is the John Insert character, because every show has one.
Oh my god.
Every show has a John Insert character. Usually it's like a dude with a sword, though, so.
This guy doesn't have a sword, he's just real good at piano.
Yeah.
But it's Yukinori Sawabe.
Oh, yeah.
Or, I guess, should we...
Yuki something.
Well, it's Yukinori, and that's like his given name versus like his family name, and so I'm wondering if we should keep with
I don't even know his family name.
Sawabe.
Oh,
but yeah, I'm wondering if we
I
should
have him
do...
as Yuki in my notes.
Yeah, that's fine. But like, if we're gonna, I guess just like moving forward, if we're gonna introduce people, should we stick to like Japanese style, like family name then given name?
I think it's whatever.
Okay.
If you want to.
Yeah. Sawabe Yukinori.
Oh, and he's only playing with his left hand.
Oh my god.
Which is really important later.
Yeah. That is some foreshadowing.
Okay, after the performance, I think I have this out of order, but Yuki goes backstage right? And he talks to the older gentleman, and the older gentlemen are like, hey, you should come tour with us. And he was like, let me think about it.
Yeah, and they're also like, dude, you're great. Like, you should come tour and like be famous because you'll totally be famous. Like, you were only playing with one hand tonight. You know? And he's just like, like I'm too cool for this a little bit.
Yeah, it like he says he will think about it, but it's instant like, oh yeah, he doesn't want to.
Yeah, and
then he goes to the restroom and uses the urinal next to Dai.
I don't remember if there were only 2 urinals.
No, there's 3. I'm pretty sure.
Oh no!
I didn't even think about that. You're so code. Right.
Yeah. So, first of all, he already breaks bro code. So, Dai's like already like kind of on edge. He's like, "Who's this guy next to me standing in the urinal? Like, what's going on?" And then Yuki just like stares over the divider, and it really looks like he's staring at Dai's penis, and that's all we think, and that's all that Dai thinks, and Yuki like makes it worse by just immediately going like, big. And Dai's like, what?
Big.
What? And then he's like, I don't know, he says something else. He's like, yeah, really big, probably the biggest I've seen. And Dai's like, what? Is it that big? You know? Which is kind of funny.
Just confirms to me that I'm like, oh, he has an average size penis.
I know, I'm like, oh, like, I don't know why that immediately is like, wow, what a good boy.
He's a very good boy.
He's a sweet, non-threatening boy. We love that kind of boy, you know? But yeah, Yuki is like, you're callous. You're callous that you have from playing so much saxophone. Do you play alto or tenor? And then Dai's like, oh.
Which, like, he acts like it's a completely normal thing. But no, it wasn't.
Yeah, Yuki, like, he just, like, has a lot of charisma, and so I think he's kind of used to getting away with
saying shit.
And, like, just kind of controlling whatever conversation he's in, you know? So I'm not saying that he's gaslight, gatekeep, girl bossing right now, but he's a little bit like, what? No, like, the conversation was totally normal. You're being weird about it.
Yeah, he's just very chill. And then something I'm pretty sure, like, I don't know, I think they meet outside the next scene. I don't remember. Yeah,
they're, like, outside the club, but Dai, I think, just bought Yuki, like a drink from a vending machine.
Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Dai is basically immediately like, hey, like, please form a band with me. Please form a band with me. Please form a band with me. You're incredible. And Yuki's like, I literally just met you. I haven't even heard you play, you know? And Dai's like, please. And Yuki's like, I'm gonna be mean if you suck. And Dai's like, I don't suck. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. He also goes on a rant. Like, he asked Dai what he thought of the men who were on stage with him.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like, these are the guys they're the reason why jazz is dying. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, Yuki. He's like, they're not innovating. They're keeping everything the same.
Which is, like, totally against the spirit of jazz. Okay, so the only other movie, or, like, the movie that I kept thinking about was La La Land.
Me too, yeah.
Because
it's jazz.
Basic. But I do think La La Land is a good movie. And it does, I think, a good job, just like this movie, of making you have feelings about other people have feelings about art.
Yeah.
So it's art that gives you feelings about other people having feelings about art, and I think that's great. But yeah, so I don't know. I enjoy jazz, you know, musically. I'm not like a hardcore jazz listener, but I do appreciate it. Yeah. I couldn't tell you what specifically I liked, but you know.
I know, yeah. Like, I listen to jazz a lot, actually.
Oh yeah?
But I don't know. I usually just put a playlist on it. Or pick, I don't pay attention to who's playing or what's playing or.
I get you. But yeah, so I don't know. As a casual jazz enjoyer, I do like, how jazz movies inevitably just talk about the spirit of jazz.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that is what jazz is. I have no idea what jazz is,
Yeah. I bet jazz players are like really annoyed by movies like these. They're like, I just want to play music, dude. Like,
if you are a jazz player, I would love to hear. I think we would both love to hear your thoughts on nebulous descriptions of the spirit of jazz. How does it make you feel? Are you mad? Do you think it's accurate? Is jazz really just kind of like that? I don't know.
Is jazz innovation?
Yeah.
I always want to know if they really improv that much or if they practice.
I
also, you know what else I watched recently? It's also a jazz movie. Soul.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny, like, there is improvisation in that, too, and I still don't get it. Like, there's no way that they just do that on the stage.
Yeah, I took a lot of piano, and basically none of it stuck with me. I would just muscle memory each of my, like, recital pieces.
I'm like that, too.
Yeah, and, like, I couldn't read sheet music so much as I could decode sheet music, I had to, like, sit there and basically write out everything all over again, which is not helpful. and like not sustainable long term. So I am by no means a musician. I've taken a little bit of guitar. I dabble, you know? So the fact that there are people who are musically gifted enough to like have enough theory in their heads to be able to improvise, I'm like, oh my god, you know, wizardry.
It's crazy.
It's insane. So I want to believe that they can, because I think that'd be really neat.
Okay, and then I believe the next scene is they meet up at that bar, Take Two Jazz, the small one.
Yeah, they go back to the first bar, and Dai has his little saxophone, and in this the jazz bar, Take Two, there is a piano and like a full drum set. One thing that I think is like kind of fun about the movie is that they do, like, I guess they got brand deals or whatever to be able to have like brand name.
They had a Yamaha.
They had a Yamaha piano, and then they had
I don't know the other
like
brands.
they had, oh gosh, I'll have to like look it up later, which will not be helpful because we're doing this
No.
somewhat live. But there's like a drum YouTuber that I watch, and he's like always, you know, he has a lot of YouTube channels, but on his drum channel, he's talking a lot about like different cymbal brands and stuff. And I like recognized one of the logos from his thing, and I was like, oh, it's real, you know? As much fun as it is whenever you have like, you know, horribly mangled, like, you know, brand pseudonyms, you know?
In like anime?
In anime, or just like in movies in general, you
Yeah.
know? Like instead of Samsung, it'll be like Smasnug.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going on a tangent now. Do you know who Hazel is?
No.
They're my favorite anime YouTuber, and they're a gay woman, so you should definitely watch them. But they have this whole video on Denny's in anime.
Yes!
And it's just like it's her collecting all the
All the
like,
not Denny's.
yeah,
Yeah.
and like they're like Danny's and Daddy's, and
Yeah.
it's like the
Daniels.
best. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like my favorite video.
Those are good. Another one is McDonald's.
Oh yeah,
I've definitely seen McNaldo's before, and so half the time if I'm talking about McDonald's, it's McNaldo's.
I see that in Starbucks a lot, but like mostly in shoujo. Like I've noticed that like if it's about girls, Starbucks shows up, but if it's not, it's kind of like iffy. But anyway,
This just in: only women like coffee.
yeah, I don't know. It's just a thing, like because like I don't know. The thing I'm thinking about specifically is like it's like a trope to like either send the shy girl to go order coffee for them to like train them.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Or like they talk about how the new cool drink is out and it's like pumpkin spice latte, but it's Japan, so it's something like not American. And they're like, I really want to go try it.
That's so fun. That seems neat. This is like even more tangent-y, but I love watching anime to like find out what things like, you know, animators and, you know, mangaka think are like important enough to include that is just about like everyday life, you know?
Like
So
what?
like I don't know, just like finding out like, oh, so like if I went to a train station in Japan, you know, it would probably be like this, like I'd, you know, like do my little card tap, you know, and then walk in, you know. Oh, like this is sort of, you know, how things work at cafes, you know. I like learning about all the little bits of like everyday life.
Me too. I'm really fascinated with their school, especially just because like I don't know that happens more. And it, you know, I'll be real, like, you know, watching anime like this and then looking at things like statistics and laws that are still in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really glad I don't live in Japan.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, you know, like I believe gay marriage is not allowed, like still.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's definitely frowned upon. It's super conservative there, and people just don't talk about it. You know?
Yeah.
In anime specifically.
It's also just like, I don't know, there's
And also, I'm kind of a fat little white woman, you know? Like, they wouldn't like me there. Like, I'm a size 14. I wouldn't be able to find clothes, you know?
oh man. Yeah, I mean, living in like suburban, you know, like US areas is a little bit frustrating because of, you know, our reliance on cars and the fact that like we have no walkable areas, we have no public transportation, we have no
Especially in Texas.
yeah, there's like the idea of a third space, which like you'll have, you know, like your first space, which is your house, you know, you
Your
have your
work.
second space, which is work, and then a third space is somewhere that you can go that is like neither of those places, and you go to like relax and kind of unwind and like meet people. So think of like a medieval tavern, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's places where you can go and like you don't necessarily have to spend a lot of money because
It's a community.
yeah, it's a community thing, and like that's like those places are missing a lot of the times in the US because they're either like prohibitively far away for people who don't have a lot of money, or you like just do have to spend money to be there, you know? So watching anime and being like, wow, look at all these public parks. Look at all these, like, very, quick, easy, fast.
Gaming cafes.
Yeah, cafes. Look at all of the public transportation and the walkable layout and the fact that there's trash cans and vending machines everywhere. Yeah.
And high schoolers can walk to school, and that's completely normal. And it's weird, actually. Like, if you're, like, usually the rich characters are the ones being driven to school.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, like, it's... But anyway.
But yeah, so I don't know. I kind of can't watch anime and not be like, oh, I wish we had a subway system so bad.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like the idea of big city living if it's like that.
Yeah, if it's anime Japan, I'd be all for it.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I want to go and, compare, because obviously anime is a little bit made up.
It is.
Not all of it's real.
What?
Did you know that human transmutation, in addition to being strictly prohibited, is also not real because it's fake? Fullmetal Alchemist made that up.
Oh my god.
I know, I'm so sorry to say.
My mom just died. I was going to try it.
Yeah, I mean, give it a shot, but I don't think it's worth it on any account.
I was going to fuse my boyfriend with my cat. So they meet up at the bar again. The It Takes Two bar.
It's not It Takes Two, it's just Take Two. Like the second take of something.
Two takes jazz. So Two
jazz, one cup? No, that's a bad joke. Don't keep that in there.
That's really funny.
Dang it.
Oh no, do we have a business idea? Oh no.
What?
Like, you bring your date, but you can only use one cup.
I don't think that's how the video goes.
It's a more wholesome take, okay? They go to the It Takes Two.
Take
Two bar.
Yeah.
So Dai can play for Yuki. And Yuki is like, all right, let's get ready. And he starts walking over to the piano. And Dai is like, no, I want to play by myself.
And Yuki's like, what?
I know. I was really confused by that. I was like, when is that supposed to how it is?
I mean, jazz is like a very much collaborative, medium. So it is, I think, a little silly for Dai to be like, I can do it by myself. Listen to me. But it does lead to what is still, like, undeniably a pretty great performance.
Yeah.
Everyone is just kind of, like, blown away with, like, the wall of sound that this man makes,
Including the bartender.
Yeah. And Yuki's... One thing they do a lot in this anime that makes me really, like... I don't know, it's just a little stylistic thing that I really enjoy. But, like, the eye shine, whenever, like, someone gets really excited...
Well, no, because it's the reflections off the saxophone, right?
Yeah, well, it is, like, in some instances, and then in other instances, I think it is just, like, stylistic. But I really like it, and...
Yeah, like, it was really neat. So there's, like, cool visuals that happen, but it doesn't happen yet. Like, it happens, like...
Right, yeah.
Later. And it was still, like, cool visuals were happening.
Yeah.
It just wasn't cranked to 100 like they do later.
Yeah. They really get it going.
Anyway, so Dai finishes, and it's really funny. Yuki has this reaction of, like, oh shit, I'm supposed to be acting cool right now, and, like, puts his head in his hands.
Yeah. And Dai's just, like, panting and like just, like, so sweaty. He's
so sweaty.
He's so sweaty. He's never not sweaty after playing, which I love because, like, you can see the intensity, But also I'm like, you're a sweaty man.
Yeah. Anyway, so Dai's like, how was it? And Yuki's like, I'll call you later. He's like, what do you mean? Like, Dai's getting frustrated with him.
He's like, just tell me if you liked it or not.
Yeah.
And Yuki's like, I'll call you later.
And so Dai leaves, and he's like, call me later, and leaves. And the bartender's like, I've never heard him play. I had no idea he could play like that.
Yeah. Like, wow, he's good,
Yeah. And, like, it cuts to Yuki, and Yuki's fucking crying.
Yeah.
He's crying.
He's, like, trying to hold it together.
Yeah.
While Dai was there.
And I forget exactly what he says, but, basically, like, wow, he's good. Something like that.
Like, the man was moved to tears by his solo performance, so...
So, later, Dai and Yuki are practicing at that bar together. Clearly, he has agreed to be in a band with him. And Yuki... kind of like they're playing together. He gives them some tips on improvisation because apparently Dai just goes off the rails, does whatever.
And Yuki's like, yes, do improv, but like
we have
a framework for a reason. You know?
And he's like, we really need a drummer to keep you in line, is basically what he says. Yeah. And then there we cut to Tamada, who is playing soccer at his college soccer club. And I don't really know exactly what happens in the scene. How I read it was they were losing. The team was losing.
Right.
And Tamada is frustrated. He goes up to the captain to say something. The captain reads him. He's like, this club is to make sure we're physically fit and ready to go into a work lifestyle.
Yeah. So my take on it was like, It looked like it was just like a scrimmage match, you know? Like it wasn't like against like another college. So it was just like practice basically. But the captain does like a wild kick, you know, and kind of just like goes for it and is like reckless and like doesn't make the shot. And Tamada later like goes up to the captain and is like, "Hey, about that kick earlier," you know, trying to like politely be like, "What was that?" you know? And his captain is like, "Yeah, you know, like it wasn't, you know, like super tightly controlled or anything, but, you know, we're here to have fun and like, you know, have a good time and stay in shape. So, you know, I know that your school was top 8 in the prefecture."
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, that we're not like competitive, you know?
Yeah.
And so Tamada is like kind of bummed and quits because, I don't know, I think he misses like the intensity,
Yeah.
you know?
Like he's either not passionate about it anymore or he's too competitive for this club.
Yeah. And like the fact that like he can't put all of himself into it, I think is what leads to him doing this next thing where he goes and he meets Dai at his little practice spot, like down by the river. Yeah.
And he brings him some food.
Oh, yeah, it's very sweet. And I think it's really funny from like, "Are we married?"
Yeah.
To be like, "I brought you some leftovers."
And literally when he walks up, Dai is like, "I thought you were bringing a girl home," or something.
Oh, yeah.
Like rubs it in his face.
But yeah, and so Dai is like, "Oh, hey, can you like do me a favor? Thank you so much for the food, but like an additional favor." Toma's like, "Oh my god, what?" You know, and he's like, "Can you just like," and he holds up like a little twig and like a little Coke can and basically just asks him to keep time. And so once again, this is a movie where smartphones apparently don't exist because you can definitely get a metronome app. It's pretty easy.
Yeah, up until this, like, we still haven't seen a smartphone. I was like, okay, maybe it's like set in the 90s and it's just not very clear.
Yeah.
Because I bet it's harder to like do period films with menswear because men's wear since the 80s has basically been the same.
Oh, that's true.
For casual, like at least for college age men. But
yeah, and like they all. Yeah, I would say that, like, out of all of them, Yuki dresses the best, and Tamada dresses the worst, at least in terms of, like, formality, you know?
Tamada dresses the worst?
Yeah, but I mean, like, I say that because Tamada's, like, wearing t-shirts in every scene.
Oh, yeah.
You know, but, like...
This is something I noticed later, too, because, spoiler alert, they use CGI models for all the musical performances, and it looks really bad.
Oh, gosh.
Everybody wears what they wear in the beginning, and I think it's because they only made one model for everybody.
Oh my god.
I know, and Tamada wears a t-shirt every performance. Except for the last performance where they took off the little like graphic on his t-shirt. And so it was like slightly different. And I was like, why didn't they do that the whole time? They should have like just made everybody wear a different colored shirt each time so it was less obvious. But every time, except for the last performance, everybody's wearing the same exact clothing.
Huh.
Yeah.
I hadn't really noticed that. That's crazy.
I know. In some parts, it feels like, oh, wow, this is a really cool anime cinematic experience. And then other parts, it's like, you know, CGI models, and they've been wearing the same clothes the entire movie.
Yeah, I mean, they touch on that a little bit later.
They do.
Yeah. So, like, there's sort of an in-universe reason why they're always wearing the same clothes, at least when they perform. But yeah, so Tamada basically gets like very into like keeping time. You can like see he goes on like a whole face journey, you know, where he's just sort of like realizing that this is something he can like put all of himself into, which I think is pretty important for him. Like he seems pretty laid back in the beginning in that he's like, "I'm just here to like get girls," you know, but he is like very quick to recognize his own passion, which I think is very cute, you know.
Tamada is my favorite character in this movie.
Tamada's pretty great. I mean, I love them all. I love all the boys.
Yeah, when he was doing the can thing.
Yeah.
Did you notice that he started adding extra beats?
He did?
Yeah! Like he went from to, but like only sometimes.
Yeah, I didn't notice that he like started like getting into it in that sense. So that's very cute. I didn't know he did that.
Yeah, it was awesome. And then he kind of has like, you know, that Enrico moment of like, oh, maybe I like jazz. Oh. Yeah. And he's like, he tells Dai that he likes jazz. Dai's like pretty much like, oh, good for you.
Yeah. Like, I've been there.
And then later they cut back to them at the apartment.
Oh, but he's like, Dai, do you think I could be a jazz drummer?
Right, yeah.
Yeah. And like, I don't know, it's very cute that he's like, here's my friend who like knows everything about this, you know, and like, not that like Dai doesn't know everything about it, but I definitely do think that there's like that sense, you know, like in real life where it's like, oh, this is my friend who like knows more about this thing than I do. Like, do you think I could get into it also? You know, I don't know. I just think it's cute.
You know, that's something I didn't highlight earlier. But when Dai was meeting Yuki for the first time, Yuki was like, well, I guess this is when they were playing for but he was like, hey, how long have you been playing
Oh,
saxophone
right,
for?
right.
And he's like, oh, 3 years. And he's like, what? Because in
Like-
Japan, like, you just pick your hobby when you're 4, apparently.
Yeah. Or have it picked for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Yukinori's been playing, like...
Since he was 4.
Yeah, he's been playing piano since he was 4, so very much like a, like, we can turn this child into a perfect gymnast,
Yeah.
And, like, you kind of get that sense from him. And it makes sense why he's, like, so cocky the entire movie, Because he's like, I'm doing this forever. I'm pretty great. Everyone likes me.
I know. Everybody's character, I'm like, okay, I get why they act like this. Except for maybe Dai. But I think that's the whole time I was watching this movie, I was like, this is just One Piece, but jazz. Dai is going around asking everybody to be a part of the band.
Yeah.
They're looking for something called the So Blue. Like the all blue, which I thought was pretty funny.
They want to perform in the jazz club known as So Blue.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know. I would Yuki is Zoro, and then Usopp is Tamada, I think, in my opinion. But
I don't know anything about One Piece.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I think the running theme of this podcast is just going to be like, I have not seen as much anime as you.
Does that make me the otaku friend?
I think you're the best otaku friend.
Oh, okay. I was gonna ask you.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're each other's best otaku friends.
Yes, because that was how I was picturing it first, and then I was like, if I watch or listen to this podcast, I'd be like, who's the otaku friend? And it's me.
You did it.
I did it. So later, there's a really cute scene where Tamada walks into the apartment, and he's like,
or Dai walks into the apartment.
Sorry, Dai walks into the apartment, and he's like, Tamada, and he can't find him, and he starts hearing like this weird like pounding sound. And he finds Tamada under a blanket.
Yeah.
Like tapping on a bucket, practicing keeping time to music.
Yeah, like he's like listening. He has like little headphones in, and he just kind of looks up at Dai and like while still like trying to like maintain the rhythm and is like, I didn't want to keep the neighbors up. And Dai's like, okay, and like puts the blanket back over him, which is really funny. But yeah, and then like immediately like goes out and like goes to drum lessons.
Wait, not yet.
Oh, not yet. My bad.
Yeah, because next Dai takes Tamada to band practice to meet Yuki.
Right.
And Yuki's like, who the fuck is this? And Dai is like, he's my landlord.
Yeah, which is really good.
Yeah, and he wants to learn the drums. And Yuki's like, yo, we can't work with a complete amateur, Like Yuki's kind of like of the air that he wants to become a really great jazz band. And then he was like, you brought this idiot along. And then Tamada was like, excuse me? And he gets like, he overhears.
He's like, don't call me an idiot,
Yeah.
which is very
hilarious.
Yeah, it's good.
And Yuki is like, fine, we'll let you be at this one practice. And then he's like, here's how can you just keep time on the cymbal? And he keeps time the whole practice, and Tamada is hooked, like instantly hooked.
Yeah, Tamada's very into it. But also he's like, he doesn't know any of the terms yet for like the different parts of the drum, and so
that's right. Yeah,
Yuki's
he was like, what's the main drum?
Yeah, he's like, whoa, is this the main one? Yeah, but like it's also very like Kid in a Candy Store, because this man has been playing on tin cans and a bucket. He sees real drums and he's like, yo.
That's true. This is his first time playing on a real drum set.
Yeah, but also Yuki, who like his family ran like a music school, so he's just like, oh my god, like this is baby's first for Tamada, but he has such a good time, and he's like, he gets so into it.
Yeah, and then we cut to like Tamada at music lessons.
Isn't it after Yuki's like, oh, because Yuki's like we can't let you in the band. Yeah. Or he's like, what? Like, how can you even like try out for the band like this? Like, you don't even know anything. And so Tamada's like, fine, bet,
Yeah. And he like, so it's basically like, if you've ever been to a Sans Music or a Guitar Center, where they have, and the teacher is clearly a rock and roll fan, which I thought was really funny. He has eyeliner and stuff.
Yeah. And like a crazy mohawk and like piercings and stuff,
Yeah, and then you see him in every performance after that. Like he's in the audience for every performance this band has later. It's so cute. And it's really funny. The teacher walks by him and corrects him on some stuff, and he walks to this like kindergarten, like what?
Yeah, like elementary schooler.
Yeah, who's it's a little girl, and he's like, "Great work, you're gonna be the next." And he says a rock, rock star
drummer
that I don't recognize, and she's like, "I don't want to be like them. I want to be like I think she says a jazz player, but I'm not sure."
Oh, I thought it was like, I want to be like a different, cooler rock star.
Yeah, something.
Yeah.
And then he buys a expensive electronic drum set.
Yeah, and he's like, for 36 payments, my manhood is safe.
36
and I'm like,
months. And it makes me so sad because I thought about this later as I was writing this. Their band is only together for a year and a half.
No.
And so he's paying off those drums longer than he was in the band.
That's so sad.
I
Or like,
know.
yeah.
And
wow.
it's confirmed later that also something that is kind of revealed around this time. I don't remember the exact parts.
Right.
But it's revealed that it kind of intercuts with these documentary style videos of someone interviewing people who have interacted with Dai. The first one was Dai's first saxophone teacher from high school. And he's like, yeah, Dai is like crazy good. He had this amazing passion. He practiced every day, blah, blah, blah. The next one is of Tamada as an adult. Tamada is clearly in a, like a, what is that called?
Just like total corpo job, you know?
Yeah, like a conference room.
Yeah, he, very suit and tie, white collar, like non-specified. He's like, oh yeah, my fellow business associates or something. You know?
And he's like, I get to brag about that I used to play with a famous Dai. I forgot Dai's last name.
Miyamoto.
Okay, Miyamoto?
Miyamoto.
Famous Dai Miyamoto and all this stuff. And it's like, and it's clearly a documentary about how Dai is a famous jazz player later.
Right.
You know?
We get these little like flash forwards almost, you know?
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
That is something that I kind of wish they wrapped up in the ending scene instead of what we actually got.
Right.
The after credit scene, I mean.
Mm-hmm.
But after all this, Tamada basically practices for 4 whole days nonstop until his fingers bleed.
Yeah, he's at this point, or rather from this point onward in the movie, he constantly has band-aids on all of his fingers.
Yeah, you're right. The whole movie.
Yeah, because he's playing like nonstop, intensely, you know?
Super passionate.
Yeah, but even then, Yuki's like, I'm sorry, you want to try out after 4 days? And he's like, I practiced. And he's like, yeah, for 4 days. That's how long you've been playing. And he's like, well, I took a lesson, you know?
Yeah,
like
it was so funny. Like, he was like, yeah, I went to drum lessons. And he was like, and Tamada was like, there was an elementary school girl that was better than me there.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
But Yuki is impressed by his improvement over 4 days.
And like the fact that he's immediately flipped a switch, basically.
Yeah.
You know? And he has definitely gotten better. Like before he was fumbling, you know, and like him keeping time wasn't super steady, and also he's like using one stick in a very like ham-fisted grip, you know, just like
like a baby.
Yeah, you know. And so like at this point he's able to incorporate, you know, like using both the pedals like and both of his hands, you know, so that's like at least like 4, you know, areas of like coordination. Drums are hard. I'm not like drums are hard. Drums are difficult, you know. Music is difficult. I'm not good at music.
Me neither. I'm not.
Yeah.
And I connect to Tamada a lot because I was in drumline for my first year, and I was so bad. I basically got fired from drumline.
You got fired from drumline?
Kind of. Like, they were like, we're making a new section.
Oh my god.
And it was the pit. I was like the first pit member in our band, and I played the xylophone.
Oh wait, no, that's like a thing.
Yeah, it is a thing, but I was really bad at the drums, and I'm pretty sure that happened because I was so bad.
Oh man.
Anyway, I just really related to Tamada. So, okay, basically, Yuki's like, I'm impressed by your improvement. You can't be a part of the band yet, but you can practice with us.
Yeah, which is very sweet.
Yeah.
Because like even that concession by Yuki, you can tell that like it's kind of driving him crazy.
Yeah, Yuki is very characterized as kind of like I don't know. He reminded me a lot of. Have you ever seen an extremely goofy movie?
No.
Oh, I'll show you a picture of him later.
Sorry, I haven't seen that anime.
It's like, honestly, that's like one of my favorite movies. I'm not even gonna lie. I forget the character. My favorite movie. I forget the character who's like this rich asshole, like college student, but he reminds me a lot of him.
Yeah, and like it's not even that Yuki's like rich, you know.
Yeah,
like when we see his apartment, it's still very much like, you know,
they show it so much later, and then even like Dai is like, I was expecting something more. I think he says classier. Yeah,
but it's still very much like a single man lives alone, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know. Like,
also, Yuki, I don't think we mentioned this. Yuki is 18, just like everybody else.
Oh, right, yeah, we thought he was like a 20-something-year-old.
Yeah.
But nope, he's just really tall.
Yeah.
I think that's it. He's very tall and very like self-confident in a way that I feel like you don't see on teenagers. I'm sorry, teenagers. I say this from love. I was also a teenager once.
So they play together, they practice together for the first time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Yuki notices that Dai is holding back because so that
yeah, he's trying to
Yeah, can play in time with him.
Yeah, he's trying to comp to Tamada.
And I
like,
think that's part of the reason why he lets him in, because he's like, okay, well, he's literally reining Dai in.
Yeah, that's true. Like, he's doing what Yuki wanted a drummer to do, which is make Dai not, like, go off the deep end.
Yeah. And then next thing that happens, Dai basically gets a call, or I think he, like throughout this, like, last few scenes, he's been harassing a jazz, like, bar owner. He's like, let us play.
Oh, there's like a scene where he says, like, please let us play.
Yeah.
And the bar owner's like, I literally don't know you. Who are you? And he's like, listen, two of our band members are college students, and we will get more college students into this bar. And he's like, well, I do want more young clientele.
And
we'll play any day of the week. And he's like, okay.
So they go to this bar to play, and Yuki's like, we're not ready for this. And he's like, I'm really worried Tamada's going to freeze out there because it's our first performance. And Tamada's like, I'm not super confident about this either. And Dai kind of like is like, yeah, but we'll be super cool. Like, basically.
Yeah, Dai's like, sort of in like a, like, if we get it over with now, then, like, we don't have to stress about, quote unquote, our first performance. And I also just kind of want to see where we're at.
Yeah, that's what he says. He says he wants to see what happens.
Yeah. So I don't know, it kind of reminds me of being in class and being like, well, I'll just present first, and then that way, I have it over with, and everyone else has to go after me.
I hate doing that, because I like seeing I like to see what everybody else does, because the first ones to present are always the worst. But
yeah, but then you get it over with, and you're done.
That's true.
I
Anyway,
love presenting first. Please don't make me present last. I'll die.
Dai also hands out posters in the street, and then that's where we meet my second favorite character in this whole movie, which is a businessman who takes one of the flyers from Dai. And Dai's like, excuse me, what is the chances of you actually coming to see me? And the businessman is like,
He's like, well, I don't really like jazz.
Yeah, he says he's never heard it before.
Oh, well, he's like, wait, when is this concert? And he's like, tomorrow. And he's like, I have never listened to jazz. I don't even know what jazz is. Like 10%, I guess.
And Dai's face lights up, and he's like, I will give 100%. No, 110%.
Yeah.
And I believe the businessman thinks this internally and is like, I like his moxie,
Yeah. He's like, this dude was excited to hear that I would at least maybe come.
Yeah.
Like, not even like definitely come. Just that, like, it's non-zero,
Yeah.
But yeah, and like Yuki is being too cool for school in the background. You see someone throw away one of the flyers, and he like picks it up and like looks at it and just kind of goes like, like, there you go. That's the one.
Yeah.
Because it's like TCH.
You're right.
Yeah.
TCH, but.
And he's like, why are you handing out flyers? This is Tokyo.
You
know how many flyers are handed out every single day?
That's true. Well, they go to perform at this bar. There's 3 people there. They're all regulars. And then there's the bartenders. So there's 4 people in total, right?
But it's like these like cute old men.
Yeah, it's really cute.
They're
like,
adorable. They're
like middle-aged, like salary men type things.
No, I thought some of them were older than that. There's at least one old guy.
Yeah. And they start playing, right? And the patrons are really liking it. They're like, oh, yeah, I really like this. And they're nodding along. But they do notice that Tamada is lacking.
Yeah,
Tamada's clearly panicking. Yeah. He freezes halfway through the performance. And I don't believe he ever gets back in, does he?
He, comes to a pause and basically just, stops playing. And he tries to rejoin them, 2 or 3 times. And I think on the last time he does finally get back into it, but he's very clearly upset.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and then a really cute part happens, and the businessman shows up.
Yeah, the guy that took the flyer, and it was maybe a 10%.
And then he's super impressed, and he goes, "This is jazz."
Yeah, it's very cute.
It's so cute. And afterwards, they have a rap party behind the bar at a vending machine, right?
Which is very funny.
Yes. Tamada apologizes for sucking. Yuki says that Tamada made 136 mistakes. Until
Yuki stopped counting.
Yeah. In the first 2 songs, and then he stopped counting. And Tamada's really heartbroken. He's like, oh, I can't be a part of this band. And then Yuki kind of sees his reaction and goes, but you're improving. You know?
But you're better than I thought you would be.
Exactly. And Tamada's like, oh, Like, you know, it's the best.
Mm-hmm.
And then both Yuki and Dai kind of have this mode of like, well, bye, I gotta go to work tomorrow. And then they literally run off.
Yeah. But then they like catch up again at a vending